This is Southern Cross News with Tom Johnson.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. The clean-up mission has begun to remove wagons along the Devonport waterfront following yesterday's train derailment. Transport safety investigators spent another day at the scene as Tasra revealed it would suspend all remote technology used at its terminals.
The damage still on display a day after disaster was narrowly avoided. Crews spent this morning extracting cement product from the derailed train, moving in cranes to lift undamaged wagons off the tracks. Investigators also spending another day at the scene.
The state and national authorities are putting in place emergency procedures to ensure that the matter is fully investigated, and so it should be.
The driverless train left a loading yard yesterday morning in Railton as it was being operated remotely. Reaching speeds of up to 50 kilometres an hour, it was diverted to Devonport and deliberately derailed. In a statement this afternoon, Tasrail said remote technology used for more than 15 years at freight terminals had been suspended and wouldn't be used until the investigation is concluded. While two people were lucky to escape with only minor injuries, one business owner says the outcome could have been catastrophic. Lee Murphy says a dozen patrons were inside his cafe just metres away from where the out-of-control train came off the tracks.
If the carriages potentially had jumped onto the main line, they may have kept on coming, but who knows, yeah. We're just lucky that nothing really didn't come any closer, because it is pretty close.
With the cafe right next to the tracks, he's asking why he wasn't warned by authorities.
A phone call would have been pretty good. We did have 12 people in the cafe at the time, so yeah, but it was a bit concerning there.
Recovery work will continue tomorrow. Sean McComish, Southern Cross News.
Tasmanian businesses are welcoming the opportunities from a trade mission to Asia, with initial agreements which could pave the way for more agricultural exports. Fresh from the trip, the Premier is hosing down concerns his government is getting too close to China, saying the country is an important trading partner for the state.
Back on Tasmanian ground, the Premier talking up the benefits of his trade mission to Asia.
This isn't about deals, it's about long-term relationships, assisting Tasmanian business to get a foothold into our biggest markets, ensuring that that market is well aware of what Tasmania has to offer.
Houston's Farms already exports to Hong Kong. It's now looking to expand to China through massive online retailers like Alibaba. During the trip, the Tasmanian government signed an MOU with Alibaba partner Winchain to promote our produce.
With this new development that you can see behind us, we're hoping to produce produce that the Chinese market will want and be able to harvest here and sell direct to the consumers at home through the Alibaba and other online channels. One key hurdle for Tasmania's slice of this booming market is export capacity. An air link with Asia is high on the wish list.
So if we're a fresh produce that takes 2 days rather than 3 days into a market, that's extremely profitable. It's wanted by the consumer. They want to know that they can get a product straight from farm to plate.
It's not uncommon for other jurisdictions in Australia to have to make a significant contribution of public funds to secure such a service. Now, we'll only ever do that if it's going to be sustainable and in Tasmania's long-term best interest.
The $200,000 15-day mission covered Malaysia, Singapore and China, the Premier even posing at the Great Wall. He's brushing off criticisms of the trip and the way his government is embracing China.
They're a large trading partner and that supports Tasmanian businesses and jobs. Of course, we need to be very conscious of international affairs and make sure that Tasmania's interests are protected.
Will Hodgman says he was briefed by Australian security agencies before the mission. Michael Breen, Southern Cross News.
Police are investigating a suspicious fire at the tourist town of Richmond. Fire scene examiners gathered evidence at the Colonial Bridge cottage accommodation after it caught alight just before 1:30 a.m. Emergency crews say smoke was coming from the roof when they arrived and they found a small fire in the ceiling space. Police are yet to reveal what caused the blaze, but say it is being treated as suspicious. 130 police and volunteers from across the state converged on the Central Highlands today to test their skills in a search and rescue exercise. The Westpac helicopter, SES crews, inland fisheries, Surf Lifesaving Tasmania, mounted search and rescue members and volunteer bushwalking groups all took part. Police say the large exercise was an invaluable chance to improve for the real thing. Spring is in full bloom at the Hobart Town Hall, with flower fanatics sharing their passion for orchids. The display ranging from Tasmanian native species to the champion bloom, a Laelia that originates from the Himalayan mountains.
It's just unreal that there's over about 30,000 different species of orchids in the world. So yeah, it just goes on and on and on. There's no limit to it.
The free orchid show finishes tomorrow. Back home now, and a Launceston teenager will next week join some of Australia's best junior tenpin bowlers, battling it out on the world stage. And with just a few days to go, Sarah Pennicott is spending her time warming up on the local lanes.
Rolling into the big leagues. At just 17 years old, Sarah Pennicott will soon be bowling for Australia. Next week, the Launceston teenager will help represent the nation at the Asia School Tenpin Championships in Taiwan.
I was pretty excited. It was a lot of work being put in to get to that point, so good to know a lot of work's paid off.
She's the only Tasmanian on the Australian team and has previously taken out a gold medal at the Australian Junior Championships. Coach Hayden George has been by her side since she first slipped on the bowling shoes 7 years ago.
Her preparation and work ethic is second to none. She goes to the gym, she does mental training, she comes and practices 2 or 3 times a week, especially leading into an event like she is now.
Today the pair spent more time in the lane at the Launceston Junior Tenpin Championships. She says it's the perfect way to keep the pre-game nerves at bay.
This competition's been pretty good to warm up to lead into it, so I'm pretty confident. I've been doing a lot of training both in and outside the bowling centre, so feeling pretty good.
Sean McComish, Southern Cross News.
A Tasmanian sport and recreation program for people with disabilities is expanding. New Horizons launched in Hobart today with a Come and Try Day. The program promotes inclusion and pathways for budding athletes to compete at national and international levels.
We're really keen on supporting their pathway to become state representatives in those sports, and also in a couple of our cases a number of our members have become national and international representatives, so really fantastic opportunity for people with disabilities in Tasmania.
New Horizons was set up in Launceston in 1986 and has expanded thanks to a 3-year Commonwealth Bank grant.
South Launceston have fought back to claim the NTFA Division 1 Premiership this afternoon against Bracknell. Trailing by 13 points at quarter time, the Bulldogs shifted the momentum in their favour in the second term to lead by 3 majors at the main break. The side was never in doubt from there, booting away to a 23-point lead at 3/4 time before keeping Bracknell to just the 1 goal in the last term to storm home the 52-point winners. A century from Ben McDermott has guided the Tasmanian Tigers to their second straight JLT One-Day Cup win against Queensland. But it was Simon Malenko who proved the unlikely hero, smashing the winning runs in a nail-biting finish. After starring with the ball against Victoria, Sam Haslett and Max Bryant showed Tom Rogers little respect. Riley Meredith finally securing the breakthrough in the 9th over, ending Haslett's stay on 33 before claiming the scalp of Bryant shortly after. Bulls danger man Chris Lynn soon found his range, courtesy of Aaron Summers, paying Gurinder Sandhu the same courtesy as he belted his way past 50. Combining with Charlie Hemfrey, the pair helped Queensland along to a 316-run total as Matthew Wade set about chasing it down in style. But the heavy hitter was soon sent packing on 22, with Jake Joran following him into the shed soon after. Ben McDermott and Jordan Silk set about turning fortunes around, holding firm at the crease to see the Tigers back on track. The pair notching up a half-ton each before McDermott recorded his first ever domestic one-day century. Silk falling just 15 runs short of his thanks to Jack Prestwich. Skipper George Bailey failing to fire, lasting just 6 balls. McDermott's impressive innings finally brought to an end, with Rogers gone for a duck on the very next ball. In need of something special, Simon Malenko loaded up. Clive Rose then digging deep to put the Tigers in the box seat, with Malenko bringing up a fitting 50 to seal the 4-wicket win with an over to spare. A record number of motorheads have had their fill at Baskerville today, with millions of dollars worth of high-speed machinery taking to the track for the annual Historics event. And organisers say tomorrow could be even bigger. This is the side organisers wanted to see, the iconic Baskerville Hill packed with cars.
The hype of the whole event's really starting to catch on, and you know, like last year, the amount of people that left the place and just said, I'm not missing that again, and went and told their friends.
With the promise of a trip back in time to a legendary era of Australian motorsport, that's exactly what crowds got as the touring cars took to the track.
They're the real deal. These are the cars that we've seen at Bathurst and through the touring car rounds, and it's just magic to have them here.
Seven-time Targa Tasmania champion Jason White returning to further cement his Baskerville legacy.
There's a lap record that we managed to crack that stood for 37 years last year here, but we'd like to try and topple that if we could. So we've been in qualifying, we were 0.6 of a second underneath that.
And with crowd numbers exceeding expectations, once again, the event's stature in the motorsport world continues to grow.
The Group A and Group C drivers spoke to me yesterday, and they said that this event has captured the true essence of historic motorsport in Australia.
Everyone get up close and personal with the cars in the pits. We're letting kids sit in the McLaren over there, and they're just things that they think they'd never get a chance to touch, but it's all here, so it's good.
Good evening, welcome back. 19 degrees today in Hobart. That was the state's top. Launceston and Burnie reaching a top of 16 with 15 for Devonport. Heating up right around the state today. 19 also for Fingal, Campania and Bushy Park. 17 for Cressy Grove and Ouse. 16 degrees at St Helens and Wynyard. 15 the top for the Bass Strait Islands for Smithton and Sheffield, with 12 degrees at Strahan. Looking out onto the satellite image, there is a frontal cloud band visible crossing the state. Further out shows mid to high band extending into the Bight. Speckled cloud behind the band is linked to a colder air mass with patchy mid cloud visible over eastern states. Tomorrow there is a high centre over the Bight approaching Tasmania. A ridge dominates much of the mainland with troughs lying over WA and Queensland. West to southwesterly winds tomorrow, 15 to 25 knots, reaching 30 knots in the south and the east, tending south to southwesterly early on with seas between 2 and 3 metres. And there is a strong wind warning current for eastern and southern coastal waters, including inshore waters through the southeast. Cooler conditions and showers through the south tomorrow, 11 in Hobart and Ouse, 12 for Richmond, 14 degrees and cloudy in Launceston and Devonport, 12 for Derailment. 14 in showers possible for Burnie, 11 at Strahan, 12 degrees for Curry, with 13 degrees for St Helens, 12 at Swansea and 14 degrees for Whitemark. Monday brings showers for the west and the far south, mostly fine elsewhere. Showers about the south on Tuesday, clearing later for most parts, with a fine day expected on Wednesday, morning frost for some susceptible areas. Looking at your major centres tomorrow, 23 degrees there in Perth, 19 and cloudy for Adelaide, and 14 and drizzle for Melbourne, 20 in showers for Canberra and Sydney, Brisbane 27 with 35 for Darwin. And it's a cloudy evening in Hobart, 12 degrees, Launceston clear and 13, and 12 also for Devonport. That's all for Saturday weather.
Great, thanks very much, Sam. Well, that's all your news for now. Thank you for joining us and enjoy your Saturday evening. Good night.